Hi, I'm Noah, and this is the ERS Sales Optimization Series, Holiday Pricing. In this video, we're going to learn how to automatically raise or change our prices on specific days of the year. This is also known as date-based pricing or date-specific pricing. Quick note, this video is available in the ERS LMS under the Sales Optimization Series. LMS stands for Learning Management System, and you can find it in the Help tab in your folder. So if you found this video because you receive alerts every time we add a new video to YouTube, it's also available there under the LMS. The LMS allows you to take a brief quiz after watching the video to test your knowledge. One more quick note. Date-based pricing isn't the same as high-demand pricing. High-demand pricing is where your folder can automatically increase prices after X number of events have been booked on a given day. Holiday pricing, or date-based pricing, will automatically change your prices for a specific date or date range, regardless of how many events are or aren't scheduled that day. For a tutorial on high-demand pricing, you can click on the link above me in the upper right-hand corner of this video. So there are often actually two components to holiday pricing, the pricing itself and scheduling changes. For example, oftentimes for a company's 4th of July events, they'll force their customers to receive all their items on the 3rd of July and have them picked up on the 5th. So you can adjust your pricing or your scheduling or both for holidays and special occasions, and we're going to go through all of that in this training. So what I'm going to do in this training is I'm going to increase my prices by 20% for 4th of July events. So let's start with admin rules, price rule sets. Now, as you might imagine, price rule sets govern your pricing. Most folders don't use more than one or two of them, and if you do, you probably have a decent understanding of how they work already. But if you're new to price rule sets or not really familiar with how they work, the basics are that most folders only use the main price rule set. And if you have a sales price rule set or sales items, you want to make sure to leave that one empty. Sales price rule sets have to have no price rules in them in order to work correctly. Other than that, you can put date-based pricing in as many price rule sets as you want to. So like I said, most folders only use their main price rule set, and if you're not sure which price rule set or sets your folder is using, it's probably only using main, but you can verify that by looking at your schedule profiles in a separate browser tab. So in this folder, like most folders, most everything uses the main price rule set. So that's the one I'm going to edit. I'm going to add the date range pricing rule down here at the bottom. Now, I could use date-based pricing. They're very similar. There's just one important difference between them. So with either of them, if you add a percentage, they're going to function the same way. Percentage increases are only going to calculate one time for the order, regardless of how many days the order is. However, if you're going to add a flat dollar amount, like $20 instead of 20%, then date-based pricing is going to add that dollar amount for each day that the order is happening, whereas date range pricing will just add the dollar amount one time, regardless of how many days the order is. So using the 3rd through the 5th as an example, if we added a $20 upcharge, using date range pricing, it would just be $20 for the order, even though the order is 3 days long. But if we use date-based pricing for a $20 increase for an event from the 3rd through the 5th, then that would be a $60 upcharge because it's 20 times 3 days. So that's the difference between the two rules. So I'm going to enter in my dates in the 4-digit year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day format. I'm going to start with July the 3rd and go through July the 5th. And I'm going to increase my prices by 20% on those days. All right, so we're good to go here. I'm going to go ahead and blank out this one. That's going to make it disappear when we submit our changes here. And then I want to add some information for my customers about how the ordering process is going to go. So we use price rule text to do that. Okay, I think this is going to help my customers, but here's the thing. I don't want that to display until April 1st. Right now, it's January 11th. So I'm going to actually cut all of this text, and we're going to paste it into a task that I'm going to assign myself to update this price rule text on April 1st. So we made changes in here, so I'm going to go ahead and submit them here. And then we are going to go to the home area. And I am going to scroll down to the tasks area, and I'm going to add a new one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and assign this to myself. I'm going to tell myself that it's going to be due on April the 1st, and I'm going to save. So then on April 1st, once I add that text into the price rule text, then my customers will see that from April 1st until presumably after the 4th of July holiday when I remove that price rule text. So the next thing we need to do is edit the scheduling on those days. So we're going to start at Admin, Products, Schedule Profiles. Now I've got 3 schedule profiles in here that are using the main price rule set, but the bottom 2 time slots and 1 time for the people, those are just test schedule profiles that I made because I was testing some stuff. So the only one that I'm actually using here is the main schedule profile. So I'm going to click into that one and edit it. Now my normal hours of operation are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., as we can see here from the earliest time and latest time drop-down menu. But if they start at 9 a.m. on the 3rd and go all the way to 9 p.m. on the 5th, it's going to be the same price as if they started at 5 p.m. on the 3rd and finished at 9 a.m. on the 5th. So I don't want to make myself and my drivers have to deal with that. So I'm going to leave only afternoon hours available on the 3rd and only morning hours available on the 5th, just to keep things a little bit more sane for my drivers and me. I don't want my drivers to have to be going out and picking up bounce houses at 9 p.m. on July the 5th after already having worked a really busy day because, yeah, that time of year is really busy. So anyway, what we got to do in here is we got to put in those 2 dates. Now, I'm not going to put in the 4th, but we do have to definitely do something on the 4th. We're going to do that with a closure. We'll get to that in just a moment here. So let's say on the 3rd, we're going to go 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So that's the only time frame they're going to be able to choose on the 3rd. On the 5th, we're going to say 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Now, the reason that I'm setting our hours this way on these days is to set ourselves up for success on those days. The 3rd and the 5th are going to be very, very busy days. And if I tell my customers that they can have their units from 9 a.m. on the 3rd to 9 p.m. on the 5th, a lot of them are going to do that. And so then, if my guys don't get there until 2 p.m. on the 3rd, they're late, at least on paper. So this gives us the flexibility to deliver the orders in whatever order makes the most sense for us. So we're probably going to go down the line, and whichever order is closest to the warehouse, that's going to be delivered first. And then the next closest is going to be delivered second. So it might say 5 p.m. for the start time on that first order, but I'm going to call the customer and I'm going to tell him, remember how it said we'll deliver sometime between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m.? Well, it turns out you're right next to our warehouse. So we're going to go ahead and do you first. So we'll get there about 9 a.m. that day instead of 5 p.m. Is that okay? And of course, most of the time the customer is going to say, yeah, that's fine. If they can't, then of course I can reschedule them for later in the day. But the point is that, again, if I let my customers choose 9 a.m. on the 3rd to 9 p.m. on the 5th, then I'm held to that, and I don't want to set us up for failure in that way on these very, very busy days. So anyway, that's the rationale for what we're doing here, and we're going to go ahead and set that closure rule for the 4th in just a moment here. So we're good to go here. I'm going to go ahead and submit my changes. And then we're going to go ahead and set that closure, and we're going to do that at Admin Rules Availability Rule Sets, Universal Availability. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. I'm going to add a closure allow overlapping orders rule. And so what we're going to do is we are going to close on July the 4th. Now that closure allow overlapping orders rule means that we're closed. In other words, we're not doing deliveries and pickups on that day, but we're allowing overlapping orders. So it's perfect for what we're doing here, right? Because we're doing all of our deliveries on the 3rd and doing all of our pickups on the 5th. So then we can put a close message in here. I'm going to tell people use the 3rd and the 5th. Happy Independence Day. Now, technically, only use the 3rd and the 5th is going to show up on the calendar. Each box for each day on the calendar isn't that big. But if somebody clicks on the 4th to try to use that day, there will be a little pop-up with that close message. So they'll see that whole message that says Happy Independence Day. So I think leaving that whole phrase in there is good. I wouldn't put a whole paragraph in there, but, a little bit longer than just the few words that you can see on that box is okay. So I'm going to go ahead and submit my changes here, and we're set. So I'm going to go ahead and place a test order. Okay, sweet. So the closure message is working correctly. When we click on it, we can see the full closure message there. If we use the 3rd, we can choose any time between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. And then we can go for a multi-day. on the 5th. Okay, so this is all working correctly. That 20% upcharge, that bounce house is normally $200. So it's a 3-day event. So 2, 4, 6, right? 600 plus 20%, which is another 120. So this is calculating correctly and we are good to go. However, there is another option for time span folders, and that's to use alternate schedule profiles. So we'll look at that in a moment here. Basically, it allows you to use a time slot schedule profile for just your holiday orders. So let's go ahead and look at a time slot folder first so you can see how that will work. So first, we're going to look at scheduling adjustments for folks using time slots. So I'm going to open up a time slot folder. I've already put the date range pricing into this folder, so I'm going to go to Admin, Products, Schedule Profiles to make our scheduling adjustments. So we can see in this folder that I've got a morning and afternoon time slot for each day of the week. I'm going to go ahead and edit that for the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th here. So what I've done here is I'm allowing people to book on either the 3rd or the 4th, but I'm going to force their pickup to be on the 5th if they do either of those 2 dates. And I'm leaving only one afternoon time slot on the 5th, so as to give my crew extra time for all the pickups they'll need to do that morning. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually make it so that all 4th of July events are delivered on the 3rd and picked up on the 5th by doing this. There's no need to block off the 4th with a closure rule. If I don't want to work on the 4th and I'm using time slots, this right here takes care of that for me. I want to actually leave the 3rd and the 4th open. I'm not going to do all my deliveries on the 3rd, so I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. And I'm going to go ahead and submit my changes, and this should be good as far as a time slot setup. So let's go ahead and test it. I'm going to go ahead and open up the front end. Yep, that's working correctly. Yep, that's working correctly as well. Now, a regular day of the month. Yep, I've got my 2 available time slots. And on the 5th, I've just got that 1 afternoon time slot. So this is working as intended. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if your folder uses time span, but you like the way time slots can automate things, you can use alternate schedule profiles for your holiday pricing. So I'm going to demonstrate how that works in yet another demo folder here. So the first thing we're going to do is create my start step, and we're going to do that at Admin, Order Config, Order Options. The start step is the question my customers will be asked at the beginning of the shopping process. So I'm going to fill out the description field here with that question. Okay, I need to put this order option into the Start group, and Web and Register is the right scope, so I'm going to leave that field alone. Now I need to fill out the options fields with the answers my customers can give me. Now I'm going to leave Include Blank option set to Yes. What this means is the drop-down menu is going to be blank by default. If I set Include Blank option to No, then the top answer here under Options would be the default answer. I don't want there to be a default answer. I want my customers to have to click into that drop-down menu and choose their answer. So again, I'm leaving Include Blank option set to Yes. Now the rest of these fields are irrelevant to my current task, so I'm good to go here. And I'm going to go ahead and submit my changes, but first I'm going to copy the text in this second options field. And you'll see why in just a moment here. And oh, you know what? I never named the order option. Let's do that right quick. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and submit my changes. So next I'm going to go to Admin, Products, Schedule Profiles to create an alternate schedule profile for my holiday bookings. So I'm going to Add New. I'll need to edit my main schedule profile as well, which we'll do next. Now, it's important that this name field have the same entry as that second answer in the start step order option that we created just now, which is why I copied it from that order option a moment ago. They have to match exactly with capitalization, punctuation, and everything else being exactly the same. You know, even an extra space at the end will break it, unless the other one also has an extra space. I'm going to go with time slots for the ordering mode here. And I'm going to choose one of the price rule sets that has the date range pricing already in it, which is just main in this folder. I did that already. Now I need to update these earliest time and latest time dropdowns, not because they'll display, they won't, but rather it's because we need to make sure the system doesn't think we're trying to schedule orders outside of our normal hours of operation. Now this time span increment field is going to determine time denominations for the expand button when you're placing an order in the back end, which allows you to override scheduling parameters at your discretion. And of course, that's something your customers can never do on the front end. So if you wanted to display each hour and half hour, you'd enter in 30 here. If you wanted to do every quarter hour, you'd enter in 15 here. I like every quarter hour, so I'm going with 15. Now the day settings field is where most of the magic happens here. All right, so you can see what I've done here. What I've done is I've made it so that if somebody chooses the 3rd, it's going to be 5 p.m. on the 3rd to 9 a.m. on the 5th. And if they choose the 4th, it's going to be 5 p.m. on the 4th to 9 a.m. on the 5th. And if they choose the 5th, it's going to be also 5 p.m. on the 4th to 9 a.m. on the 5th. Again, if I wanted to make sure that I don't work at all on the 4th of July, then I would do this. Now, I like it the way I had it, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it like that. And whoops, I deleted a word. Okay, so now I am going to set a schedule profile default for suggested add-ons, which I think is good practice, just so that my folder is automatically upselling no matter what. And please feel free to watch our video tutorial on upselling by clicking on the link in the upper right-hand corner of this video if you like. And of the rest of these fields, I can ignore them for the most part. In a real-life scenario, I probably would fill out the item page price text field because I think that's good practice. And once again, there is a tutorial in the knowledge base on item page price text, so you can go to support.eventrentalsystems.com and look up item page price text and find a good tutorial on that. So I'm going to go ahead and submit my changes. And then I am going to edit my main schedule profile to connect the holiday schedule profile we just made to it as an alternate schedule profile. So all I need to do here is go down to alternate schedule profiles, choose that order option that we created for the start step, then paste the name of the second order option entry from the options field, just like we did in the name field for the alternate schedule profile just now. Whoops, I had copied and pasted from the options area. So what was that answer? It was 4th of July event, I think. I'm going to double check that because, again, if I made even one tiny mistake in there, this isn't going to work. So I'm going to double check that after I finish this. All right, and then last but not least, we got to choose what alternate schedule profile is going to trigger. Oh yeah, it's that one. I named it the same thing as the second order option choice, so I did fill out this field correctly. Okay, cool. And you can sort of see the logic here, right? People will be asked this question from the start step order option that we created, the one that's in there. Hey, we have different procedures for holiday events. Do you want a regular one or a 4th of July event? And then if they choose the second option, 4th of July event, then it's going to trigger the alternate schedule profile that governs our 4th of July events. So I am good to go here. I am going to go ahead and submit my changes. And now the last thing we have to do is reach out to tech support to ask them to make the start step active. I've included a link to open a tech support ticket in the description text of this video, specifically customized for asking tech support to activate your start step. If you're watching this video through the LMS, the ERS Academy, that's under the Help tab. This link will be on the page where the video is embedded, since the description text from YouTube videos doesn't show up in embedded videos. Now make sure that if you're opening a tech support ticket for something else that isn't specifically to ask them to activate a start step for you, that you don't use that link, because that link is customized specifically only to ask tech support to activate a start step in your folder. If and only if you're doing the alternate schedule profile version of this process, since none of the other configurations require a start step. If you have another question about all this, just open a regular tech support ticket by emailing support@eventrentalsystems.com or by calling 505-435-9731. Option 1. Now, just like with the other configurations we've gone through, you can update your price rule text as well if you like. And also, just like we did before, where I didn't update my price rule text right away, but rather I assigned myself a task to do it later in the year, we could do the same thing with price rule text here too, and even with the start step. Since the start step is only for 4th of July events, if you don't want to make the start step active until later in the year, you can do that. Everything I've demonstrated here for alternate schedule profiles won't activate until that start step is active, so you can ask tech support to do that part of it for you whenever you're ready. Now, before we wrap this video, I'm going to just quickly show you the start step in action so you can know for sure how this is going to work if you do this with alternate schedule profiles. Okay, so this is working as intended so far. A really important note, if your folder already has an active start step in place, you're going to want to edit that start step to include more choices in addition to the ones your current start step uses, rather than creating a new start step. And you're going to want to wait to do it until you're ready to make your new start step active. You won't have to reach out to tech support since the only thing they need to do for you is to make your start step active. Now, as with everything we do, I encourage you to test, test, test. Place a test order or two, and change some things around to make sure it's working as intended in every way and on every day you intend it to. So that's it for date-based pricing. If you're watching this in the LMS, you can take your quiz questions and move on to the next video in the ERS Sales Optimization series. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.